If you're going to contemplate selling a company, I want you to think about it kind of in an interesting and sort of fun way. You're going to go out and attract prospective buyers. And if you do it the right way, you're going to have a pretty decent pool of prospective buyers. We'll call those prospective buyers that have raised their hand and said, yeah, I'd like to own this company. It's interesting. Then we take that group of buyers and we narrow the list down through conversations and interactions and maybe some marketing materials we put together. We have dialogue, we assess their needs. We take a subset of we'd like to own this business to, wow, we would love to own this business. Maybe it fits their strategy a little bit better or they're excited about it. So you get a big group of we'd like to own it, a little bit smaller group of we'd love to own it. And that's where most entrepreneurs and quite frankly most advisors stop. They sell it to one of the we'd love to people for the industry average multiple. But if you can take that we'd love to own it group and move a handful of them to we have to own this business. And if you get multiple deep-pocketed buyers, so they have to have the financial resources to pay a strategic value, but if you get a handful of buyers that go from we'd like to own it, we'd love to own it, we have to own it, it's game over for the buyers. It's all the leverage now for you as a seller is in your court, and you get 3 or 4 deep-pocketed have to, you could beat industry averages by double, triple, 10 times because those buyers have uncovered something in the company that they have to have. It might fit their strategy, it might fit their future, they might be able to unlock all this massive value from it, but they have to have it. And now they're competing with each other to have it. So you run a soft auction, you have them bid against each other, and again, it's game over for the buyer at that point. Seller has all the power and all the ability to outpace the industry average by magnitudes.
What are the, like for example, a soft auction, what does it look like? How does it work?
So let's say we have 3 have to own it buyers. We basically will go to buyer A and say, here's where we are. There's 2 other really interested buyers and here's, what we're thinking about. If you're gonna be a bidder, you have to be in this range. And if you're in this range, I'll put that in front of the client and then we can talk about it. So then, and I love the book by Bob Cialdini, Persuasion. A lot of this is about persuasion. Like when I get on the phone with a prospective buyer, one of the very first things I tell them is, listen, we are already seeing an outlier level of interest. We know this is gonna trade well above industry average multiples. Not every buyer's up for that. If you're not, that's totally fine. But know that if you're ultimately gonna be a bidder for this business, it's gonna trade above probably where you think it's gonna trade. So I start the persuasive process right away. So by the time we get to the soft auction, they've already been prepped for, hey, this is an outlier business. And we've had the conversations where I know why they have to own it. I reverse engineer the value that they perceive they're gonna extract from it. And that's how I negotiate. So I know I might be able to push buyer A because of those conversations to 25 times EBITDA. Now, let's say it's a $2 million EBITDA company. That's a $50 million valuation when if it trades at 5 times EBITDA, it's a $10 million valuation. That's a massive step change. Buyer B, I might know, hey, I know they're not gonna get to 25, but I might be able to get them to 20. So they're a good backup plan. But I'm not gonna tell buyer A that buyer B can only get to 20. So if I know I have a 20 times backup, I can push the 25 times buyer maybe a little bit higher because I have a fallback plan. If I have 3 of those buyers, then I can play that game among the 3. And you really are, and in each iteration, it's here's where we are. If you want to stay in the process, here's where you need to be. They send their bids back in, we do another round. Ultimately, you pick the winner and then you go through the process. But it's great to have multiple backup plans that all say, we have to own this business. And then if your deal falls through, you immediately can go back. And here's what's really cool. Let's say you had a 25 times offer here, and you had a 20 times offer here. and for whatever reason the 25 times falls through, the 20-time offer, the entire time they lost, has been thinking, we had to own this business. We blew it. We had to own this business. So now when you go back to them, you can say, hey, you've got one shot, but 20 times isn't going to get it done. But if you can get to 27, I think I can get it over the line for you. Now you've taken that buyer that was the losing bidder, and you can even get them above the winning bid if that deal falls through. So it's really about knowing that they have to own it and why they have to own it and what that means to them economically.
My first business was an online record store. So I was a vinyl collector and always looking for new pieces of vinyl. And then on a Sunday afternoon, I put it on eBay.
Yeah.
And I never heard of eBay, and so I put it on eBay. And so I was selling a lot on eBay, and I was outselling all of my competition. We always started with €1. So you can buy the vinyl for €1, or the starting bid is €1, and my average selling price was €18. So the bidding always went up to €18 on average.
Yeah.
My competition, they couldn't sell their records, the exact same records for €1. They get 0 bids for €1. So people could buy it for €1, but eventually they buy it on average for €18. Why? Because I had more bidders. So same thing, I needed 3 bidders.
Yeah.
And then it was a bidding war, and it went up.
Yeah.
And this is €1 or €18, but it's a multiple.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with exiting a business, super more high level.
Yeah.
But you need more bidders who are super interested, who really exactly have to have it. And the same with vinyl collecting, they have to have it.
Yeah.
And once they put their mind to it, like they have to have it, and then they start bidding. And it's funny. For me, it's a little bit of a trip down memory lane, this whole concept of the bidding war. How does it work? So let's say there's 3 bidders, and let's say they all would be willing to invest, for example, 40 million, but they're bidding 28, 32, and 35.
Yeah.
Is it like a one-off bid, or is it once the 35, the bid is 35, do you then go back to the other bidders like, okay, you can up your bid, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a soft auction, not a traditional auction. So really it's just a negotiating back and forth. Normally offers are presented via either an IOI, which is an indication of interest, or an LOI, which is a letter of intent. So as soon as I have an LOI, I now have the framework of their offer. And then I will go to buyers B and C and say, hey, here's where we are. If you're going to submit an LOI, here's where I think you need to be to have a shot. So then we collect all those LOIs, and then we'll go back to each one and say, hey, if you want to stay in the process, here's where you need to be. So you can have unlimited rounds of those. Like eBay is a little constrained, right? Ultimately, there's a winning bid, the auction closes. In a soft auction, it's more just the negotiation back and forth. But there's an economist that won a Nobel Prize several years ago for the idea that human beings aren't logical, they're psychological. And it applies at every level, whether it's buying vinyl on eBay or whether it's buying companies. Human beings act in a really interesting way when they're in competitive situations and bidding situations, especially if they, like you just said, have to have it. Yeah. You get buyers that have to have it, they start to act really irrationally, which is really good for the seller.